is a rite of passage. You know, you were 30 years old, you were a good warrior, you were a warrior, you know how to make money, but the question is, are you going to be a king? The question is, who do you need to become in order for you to be a king? And I think that that's where adversity hits. My name is Raul Villacis, and you're listening to the Daily Edge podcast. Learn the systems and the process that successful businessmen are using to take their lives and their business to the next level. Welcome to the Daily Edge podcast. My name is Raul Villacis, and today we have a very special guest. He's a brother from another mother, another Latino, making things happen. So you know how to bring him in here in the podcast. You know how to bring him in because every single time I see another man succeeding, conquering, and building empires, I need to bring him into proximity because I believe that proximity is power. So I have here as my guest today, Gerard Adams. He's an entrepreneur, a mentor. He's built businesses over $50 million. He's scaled them. He sold them. He could dissect them, and he could teach people how to scale and architect their empire to take it to the next level. So, Gerard, welcome to the Daily Edge podcast, brother.
Yes, sir. Let's go, Raul. I'm excited to be here, man. You always bring the heat. Looking forward to sharing space with you and offering wisdom to your tribe, to your community.
Awesome, man. So listen, before we got on air, we're talking a little bit about catching up. You know, what happened with COVID. I think you actually came to the event in, when did you come to the leadership? Was it before COVID or?
Oh, yeah.
Or was right before the COVID hit, right? And that's the time that shit, man, right after that event, New York City was in lockdown. After that event, it was like, shit, we need to figure out what to do. And actually I got sick. My wife got sick. A bunch of guys got sick from that event. But I believe COVID really helped us break through and prepare ourselves for what's going on right now or for what's to come. So how does COVID really affect your business right now?
Yeah, well, I want to just say, Raul, right before COVID, you had invited me as a guest to that event, and you were one of the greatest speakers that I have ever seen live. Like, I got chills that ran through my body. And my heart was just like pumping. I remember feeling like I'm ready to run through a brick wall. You know, when you were like, I will burn this shit to the ground and rise from the ashes. I was like, let's fucking go. Like, I was so amped up, man. And it was so cool to see. And I'll never forget that. What a way to end the year. But yeah, COVID, you know, it's awesome. Like, I got to say, like, of course I have empathy. People have gotten sick. I know that it's impacted the world significantly. I have empathy for a lot of the world that is going through this shift. But as an entrepreneur of 18 years, this is what we're built for. This is where like what you said, this is where you rise from the ashes. Like, this is where you either look at this as this happened to you or this happened for you. And it's individual for every single leader. And for me, no doubt about it, it hit me, and it caused me to say to myself, for one, how can I lean in? And at a part like this, like, this is my opportunity where leaders will be remembered. How will you be remembered? And in a time like this in history, when you have an economic crisis and a health pandemic hitting all at the same time, are you going to be the one that goes back to the shadows? Or you're going to be the one that leans in, steps forward? And then you have Black Lives Matter on top of it that hit. So for me, it was this opportunity that I was like, all right, G, step up, lean in, go the extra mile for your clients. Like, forget about the way the model was in the past. Now it's about like going all in on your clients, providing even more value, being more of service. I started doing live streams every single day, bringing leaders on every single day. You know, I leaned in, and it caused me to level up just by like leaning into the fear. And gosh, so much happened to me, man. Like, I had some shadows come up. Like, one of them was like, I realized during COVID, I was like, there was this part of me that went back to my childhood. And I remembered always feeling like I wasn't good enough, and had this fear of disappointment because like my father, you know, always wanted to freaking prove myself to my father, and I never got first string in sports, and I, wasn't the kid who got good grades. And for whatever reason during COVID, like a lot of these different shadows came up, and that was one of them. It was like there was this one moment where like, I actually had this fear of like, man, am I going to disappoint my community? Am I going to disappoint, my clients here? Like I had like this fear for sure. And that was like the moment where like, when I felt that, I'm at a point now in my life of consciousness and awareness that whenever I feel that fear like kind of rise up, I know that there's growth there. So I just say to myself, like, what does this really mean? And you are good enough, like lean in, lean into this right now. Like, and it stepping in even more when that fear came up, like, fuck disappointment. Like, how can you now hold a virtual summit for your clients? Like, how could you now be innovative right now and like just over deliver for them? And that's basically what I did. And that was for my business. It caused me to get virtual even more, tighten up my systems, tighten up how I was managing my team. And then it really leveled me up in my love life, because unlike you, I'm not married yet. That's my goal, is for this family and to get married. But I am now I manifested my dream girl. And right when we came back from our honeymoon stage, we were in Bali together celebrating her birthday. And we were on the plane landing when the NBA shut down. Airports were like getting no flights can come back in. Like we just got back to LA when COVID hit. And we're like, oh shit, this is real. And all of a sudden we went from like honeymoon stage to like living together, lockdown, COVID for months. And that caused like huge, we were mirrors, like huge things came up for us. And that really caused me to tap into parts of me that, I like, I'm still dealing with, like parts of me that I'm still dealing with, but it really leveled me up in my relationship, my love life too.
I think COVID has been a vortex of like expansion. Like it's like, I think 2020 is equivalent to like 10 years of growth or 10 years of pain, because I talk to people all the time. They're like, shit, when is 2020 going to end? When is this year going to be over? Like every time that we turn around, something else happens, and 5 years ago, Gerard, I had this vision about 2020, right? And my vision of 2020 was going to be this storm, and I called it, the new wave of how leaders need to evolve. I had no fucking idea that it was going to be a pandemic, but you look back in my marketing, I always talk about the storm. Get ready for the storm. Get ready. The storm is coming. Who needs to become in the middle of the storm? But now we have multiple storms in our lives, not just economic. We have a health crisis. We have the election coming up. We have all these things. And so take us back a little bit, Gerard, for the guys who don't know you, for the men who don't know you. How did you start your business? How did you start as an entrepreneur? And what other storms have you embraced or have you hit in your life that prepare you for 2020?
Wow. Yeah, I love that. I agree with you. I really do. What comes up for me as we entered into 2020 was like this great awakening that's happened. And it's so powerful. And the years prior for sure helped me to like be prepared for this. In fact, the last economic recession between 2008 and 2010, and I had one like really big failure right before that too, that if we wanted to, we can talk about, that really positioned me as an entrepreneur. But the big one that shaped me for this particular storm that we're in right now in 2020 was that crisis, that financial economic crisis back then in 2008, between 2008 and 2009. I had just become a millionaire. I was 24 years old. I had an agency, service-based industry agency that was helping publicly traded companies tell their stories online. I've been a storyteller for 18 years. And I was able to get my first client for like $500 a month, scaled that to 6-figure clients, and then built it to a $10 million a year agency by the time I was 24. I finally became a first millionaire in my family. I'll never forget the moment calling my dad, like, Dad, like I just hit the second comma. Like I officially have 7 figures in my bank account. And my dad being like, I'm so proud of you. And don't tell anybody. And I just grew up with that. My family never wanted me to tell anybody or anything. So, and I was at the high of my life. And then I started investing it because my clients were these amazing innovative public companies. So I started becoming an avid investor, and I actually made multiple 7-figure trades investing into gold and silver at that time, which was like the move. I remember going to Guanajuato, Mexico, into a mine, interviewing the CEO of this company called Great Panther Silver. I took $500,000 I had saved up. I put it in the company in the open market. It was around, I think it was around like 80 cents a share. And I ended up selling it above $2.50. I made millions of dollars on that. I did SLV call options, which I'm currently doing right now, silver call options. I still play a lot of investments in the stock market. And I made one big bet right before as this crash was happening, which was a company called TV Everywhere. It was a company that had the patents that was literally to stream content through smart devices, which we now know is everything. And sometimes you could be right, but you can time it wrong. And I just timed it wrong, where the market crashed. When I was up, I had my portfolio up $20 million by the time I was 25 years old. And I took my eye off the ball. The stock was rallying to $8. I had gotten in at like $1, and I thought I was going to keep going, and I didn't sell, and I lost all of the money I had saved up in my portfolio. I got out, and I still was okay, because I sold my penthouse, I sold my exotic cars. I still got a little bit out of the company. It just, like, the market just crashed, and I couldn't get out, and I lost all the money I had saved up. And I was like, that moment in my life, I felt like such a failure. I was like, how did I go from being this multimillionaire by 24 years old, crushing it? All my friends are coming to me for jobs. All my friends are graduating from college with college debt, a worthless degree. And now I was the guy who made it. And now I went from making it to losing it all. And I was like, my ego didn't want anyone to even know. I was like so depressed. And my mother at that time looked at me and was like, she was the only person I can go to. My mother was the one who was really my biggest inspiration to want to succeed and become an entrepreneur, because she worked at a supermarket pretty much almost 7 days a week, most weeks. And I was my first job at 15, 16, was working at that supermarket. I'll never forget getting that first paycheck. Maybe it was like $300, and seeing my mom with her back pains and knee pains and being like, holy crap, I got to figure out a way to get my mom out of this. And I will never live paycheck to paycheck ever again. So I went to my mother when this all happened, and my mother was like, Gerard, she was like, you may lose all the money in the world, right? You may lose the shirt on your back, but they'll never take this, and they'll never take this. And she was like, when I immigrated to this country from Colombia, my mom was born in Cali, Colombia. Shout out to all my Latinos and Latinas.
Colombia in the house.
Yeah. So my mother came here from Colombia with nothing. And not only nothing, but here she is, the oldest of my aunt and my uncles. They have a family of 5 in this 1-bedroom apartment in Jersey City, and it catches on fire. My mom's basically around 16, 17 years old. All my family gets out. Thank God everyone's alive, but literally they lost everything. So they came here with hardly anything. Then they lost
everything in the fire,
and then lost everything in the fire. So my mom starts crying. She's like, I didn't want to tell you that this happened. But she's like, if I was able to get through that period of my life with your aunt, your uncles, your grandparents, and I was able to put this roof over you and your 2 sisters' heads, you best believe you can get out there and do it again. And that was the only thing I needed to hear, Raul. I was like, all right, you know what? I lost that money I saved in the stock market, but you know what? I learned a fuck ton from doing marketing, from being a storyteller, from building that $10 million agency, from investing. They couldn't take that wisdom away. They could not take that knowledge. They could not take my will. They could not take my heart away from me. And that was when I shifted. And in that crash, when we were in that recession, I went and started a company called EliteDaily.com, bought the domain for $9.99 to solve a problem, to give a voice to the millennial generation. And through that crash, I birthed a company that I built to $50 million and sold to $1 billion company before I was 30 years old. So that story by far is the greatest storm that prepared me for this storm. Because you best believe that in this decade, I'm going to create a hell of a lot more wealth, and more importantly, impact by the time we look back at this in 10
Man,
years.
listen, I'm getting chills because like when you start telling the story, man, it just brings me back to the story of the real estate crash. You know how I know exactly how you feel when you were $20 million in up, and then all of a sudden the market crashes. And in my case, I couldn't even get the money out because real estate is hard to move. It's hard to move. You have to have a lot of moving pieces. But you're right. The ego is what brings us down. It wasn't the loss; is how the ego gets affected because we think we made it, right? We think, especially Latinos coming in from nothing, and we have a little bit of money, and then we don't want people to think that we're a failure. But exactly the conversation you had with your mom, I had with my wife. And I told my wife when I came clean, and I said to my wife, we lost everything. I don't have enough money to even pay the mortgage. Like I was expecting her to say, fuck you, I'm getting divorced. I'm leaving you. But she turned around and she said, Raul, I will live under a bridge if I have to, but I know you're going to fix this. So go out there and fix this shit. And that gave me the certainty, man, to go out there because, with those words, you can't, it's kind of like giving you a cape. They said, all right, I want to figure this shit out. And then women have so much power. So if you listen to this podcast, you're watching this video, if you're a woman, understand the power that you have as a woman when you could make the man, or you could also destroy the man. Because I know in other situations where women destroy the man and they tell him, well, I knew you were gonna fail. I knew you were never gonna do anything. I knew you were a failure. And that actually creates a curse. And I think you're blessed to be with a mom that, same thing with my mom. They came from nothing. We're from Ecuador. And they came here. They lived in Queens. They lived in Brooklyn. They live in the Bronx. And they actually settled in Connecticut to brought us here to this country. And they lived in I remember we had a 2-bedroom apartment with like 5 or 6 families. And I'm not afraid to go back to that. Like every time my kids, we live in a house that we're comfortable. And I tell my kids, this house probably could hold about 20 families. So I'm not afraid to go back to like a basement apartment. So actually when the Corona hit and the pandemic hit, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this. I'm ready. If I have to lose everything and rebuild again, I'm fucking ready for this because I know that they can't take away my experience. They can't take away the wisdom, the gift from it. So now that you build this, because I know your story is very similar to my story too. Now that you have Elite Daily, now that you sold it, what happened next? Because I think that's when you actually started going through what we call the tunnel. And tell us a little bit about that story.
Sure. And I will say, Raul, I actually have family in Ecuador. I have some Ecuadorian in me as well. So that's cool. That's cool to know. So after scaling this company, and mind you, this is me, my intern, David, who was 19 years old. Like I have a natural gift that God is chosen me to help lead this younger generation. Like I've worked with so many 18, 19, to between that age and under 24, like I've helped them so many of them become millionaires and just leaders. And David was my intern. I made him the CEO. And here we are, me, my intern. I brought on another co-founder to be our COO, Jonathan. And from 3 of us, we built it to 200 employees. I had to learn so much about systems and team building and all these things, especially when $1 billion company wants to buy you. They stick a catheter in you. They want to know every little detail to make sure it's going to be predictable, sustainable, and scalable ongoing. And I didn't want to exit. So when it all happened, I felt like a piece of me died because I was like, this was my baby. I had never built a personal brand because I was always told to let the business do the talking, but don't show people what you have. Don't be out there. I think that a lot of times that's in the Latin culture. So I never did that. So when I sold my company, I was like, I didn't know who Gerard was because my identity was attached to Elite Daily. Yeah. So when that sold, I was like, who am I? What am I really here to do? And I'll never forget, my accountant was like, Gerard, you're about to get millions of dollars wired to your account. Go to Florida, save on state income tax, and go there because it's a better place as the deal is getting done. So I go to Florida, I pick out this penthouse with ocean views. I'm with my girlfriend, we're on the balcony. And I just remember looking out at that ocean and just saying to myself, I'm not meant to be here. Like, this is not it. I'm about 30 years old. What am I doing here? I don't want to be retired in Florida looking at the ocean. I want to get back to, there's a mission here. And I swear I had a moment with God, and God was like, the reason why this happened was because you're meant to lead this generation, this next generation, of what it really truly takes So then I decided in that moment, because I started seeing all the entrepreneurs all over social media, everyone who wanted to promote their Lamborghinis and sell courses. So I was like, and here I am, I nothing against that, because I love Lamborghinis and I definitely want to continue to have online education. But for whatever reason, at that point, I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder saying a lot of people need to see what real entrepreneurship is. It is not all Lamborghinis, rainbows, and freaking blue check marks. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of like hard work, and just it takes a lot of leadership. It takes a lot more, and it's bigger than that. It's about impact and like how you're actually making a difference in the world. And so I decided to go back to Newark, New Jersey, where my grandparents had settled. And there's like, it's the hood there. And I decided to build an incubator to educate the local community and teach them entrepreneurship. So I started teaching them entrepreneurship, emotional intelligence, financial literacy in an incubator in person in the middle of Norfolk and Sussex, which is like one of the projects in Newark, New Jersey. And I started at that point feeling the calling to create a movement called Leaders Create Leaders, where I would document what it took for me to build the building from scratch. I documented like literally building a building, building an incubator, educating through a 12-week program, entrepreneurs in person, everything from planting trees in the neighborhood, going and playing basketball in the projects, to being there and bringing in leaders like Tom Bilyeu and Lewis Howes and Ryan Blair to come there and teach them with me. Eric Thomas came. It was phenomenal. And then we would teach middle school, high school students. And I created this movement. And then I started traveling the world, interviewing leaders like yourself, telling their modern day story of how they found purpose, overcame adversity, and built their dream life. That's been my mission over these last 5 years.
So you found the purpose. So you had to go to that tunnel. And what I call the tunnel is kind of like the midlife crisis, right? A lot of people think the midlife crisis, just like we're going through a crisis, but the reality is it's an opportunity, is a rite of passage. You were 30 years old, you were a good warrior, you know how to make money, but the question is, are you going to be a king? The question is, who do you need to become in order for you to be a king? And I think that's where adversity hits. That's where no amount of money, no amount of prestige or success is going to fulfill you. You have to find that fulfillment within yourself, within you. And what are some of the practices that you actually, because you've done a lot of work on yourself, what are some of the things that you actually done to actually find that power within yourself, that fire, that purpose, that, whether is, going in and meditating or, doing some physical activity, what's that process that you take yourself through in order for you to find and dig deeper into that purpose?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I have this concept. I don't know if you've ever read, if you're listening to this or watching this, there's a book called The Second Mountain by David Brooks. And I really, it's a phenomenal book. Highly recommend you read that book. Well, I had this concept that after I finished the book, I really do believe there's the third mountain. The first mountain is when you go out and you are the warrior, like you talked about, right? You achieve material power and wealth. I had made millions of dollars. I had the cars, I had the watch, I had the girls, I had all the things when I was in my 20s, going into 30 years old, but I lacked purpose. The second mountain is when you finally go through that tunnel that Raul talks about, and you actually start doing some inner reflection on how do you want to contribute to the world? What problems do you really want to solve? And realize it's bigger than you. That the money and the accolades and the materialism doesn't actually create fulfillment. And then you're after fulfillment. But here's the thing in the second mountain, you still have an old operating system that's based on the hustle, the grind, the force, the push as an entrepreneur. So what happens is if you were like me, this is what happened for me is I tapped into purpose, but I still was grinding. I still was pushing. I still was forcing. And that shit can burn you out, or that shit could just eventually, it's like you're doing so much and you're doing amazing work in the world. And from the outside looking in, you look like you freaking got it all figured out. You look like Iron Man. And this is where you get into what I call the third mountain. And the third mountain is not just being in purpose and actually doing what's creating impact, but it's truly finding the leader within and you're creating actual harmony where you're no longer having to force on that mountain. You're actually just creating the impact, and you're creating the wealth, and you're creating the happiness and fulfillment literally with ease, because it's all just an extension and reflection of your being. And for me, the framework that I started taking myself through, and I'll tell you, this is how, before I created this framework, what happened was my father, this is where my father, he's the one who's instilled leadership qualities in me since I was a young boy. And he saw me accomplish all these things. So here I am, 30 years old. I go to Newark, where his roots are. I build this incubator. I'm freaking doing events with Eric Thomas, Tom Bealey, Lewis Hauser coming there. I'm supporting all the minority youth in there. And it's like, I'm crushing it. I'm getting awards. I won Entrepreneur of the Year award, all these things. But deep down, Raul, I still was missing something. I still was like not happy. And my father was the one who pushed me in the bathroom one day in our house. And he gives me an envelope and he says, open the envelope and read it to me. And I open up this envelope and I'm like, my dad used to always leave little notes in the house with quotes of Marcus Aurelius or Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, so on and so forth. But he never wrote me a full-on letter. So I open this up and I look at this letter and it says, son, a father and son bond is unbreakable. And I'm here for you for the rest of your life. And I love you unconditionally. I've seen you put your mind to anything you want to accomplish, and you've been able to accomplish that goal. But son, you are lacking happiness. I see it in you. And it's time for you to find that, because at the end of the day, what matters most, and my father used to always say this to me, is family. And he was like, he used to make me watch The Godfather every year. And the quote he would always say is, a man isn't a man unless he takes care of his family. And he's instilled that in my head. So, and he was right. I was unhappy. So I started working on my spirituality and really looking at spiritual business as a spiritual game, and being a bridge between, yes, you can be a business multimillionaire, if not billionaire. You can go and have all those things and still be a spiritual badass and be aligned. And I use a framework that I take my clients through called the H5. And the H5 is a mastery challenge. I work a lot of my clients with self-mastery, and it's broken down to H5 into your health, your hustle, your harmony, your heart, and your happiness. And within those 5 pillars, the pillars of a conscious leader, you then customize it to what those things mean for you. So for you, for health, may be, for me, it's energy, exercise, routine, and rituals. And I fill those out. And then there's 3 levels: level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1, you get 1 point. Level 2, you get 2 points. Level 3, you get 3 points, depending on, it's basically like picture beginner, intermediate, advanced level, right? So advanced may be like, you had your green juice today, you freaking meditated, you freaking breath work, you went to the gym, you got a full-on HIIT class, like you did it all. You went outside and did some nature, like you did the 75 hard on that day. That's level 3. So that to me has helped me to, one, master all the pillars in my life. And it's allowed me to find like the happiness. It's allowed me to pinpoint the areas, because I crush it in hustle. I crushed it even, in like, like, I guess like heart now. Like I feel like I finally got my goddess and stuff. I had love life I felt was amazing. Now it's greater than ever. But the happiness, like I mentioned, was missing. Like I wasn't healthy and I wasn't happy. And now this framework allowed me to figure that out. And the happiness, it allowed me to put in my mastery metrics, play, like making time to integrate adventure, exploration, play into my life more, travel into my life more. And just by like creating more balance within all these pillars, I've like, now it's like, I have it all. I have the full abundance of the impact, the income, and the influence.
And I think what I'm hearing from you is a lot of us, what we do and we've been conditioned to do is really just work on the hustle. Once you make the money, then everything else is going to be taken care of. Once you have money, then you're going to work. That was my idea. I didn't work. I didn't take care of my body, Gerard, until I was in my late 30s. Like in my 35 years old, I started just going to the gym. I thought in my mind, like, I'm going to just make as much money as I can, and then I'm going to go to the gym. Then I'm going to take care of myself. And I think a lot of men, what we do is we just neglect that spirituality. I mean, business is a spiritual game. Why is it that most businessmen fails? Because they lack that connection to be guided. We think that the hustle is going to make us money, or the hustle is going to make us happy. But the reality is the hustle is a never-ending pitch. Like, it's never enough. For the mind, it's never enough. You're never going to be rich enough, influential enough, successful enough. If you're constantly feeding your mind, you're always not going to feel enough. But the moment that you start feeding your soul, your purpose, then you realize that you're not enough right now. That in order for you to reach greatness, you have to evolve. And that is fulfillment. And that's what I'm hearing from you, is that you start realizing that shit, man, like that right now, living on the past or living in the present moment, is giving me the opportunity for me to ask myself, who do I need to become to create an impact? Who do I need to become to be fulfilled? Who do I need to become in order for me to actually do what I want to do, not what society or the culture want us to do? And I think a lot of us, we're trapped in a culture box, that because you were supposed to do certain thing, that's what you have to do. Or because of your age or your background or what you've done in the past. Fuck, we're here to break those boxes, not to break the mold. And in order for you to break the mold, you have to have a system, you have to have a process, you have to be committed to mastery. And I think that's one of the things that I love about what you're doing, is because I see the hustle, but at the same time, I see the integration between the hustle and the grind and the work and the humbleness to be guided. Because I think that's where the key is, being humble enough to realize that it's not Raul that speaks, it's not Gerard that speaks, is the universe and God, that what is the work that is going to do through us. And that's when, I'm humbled that you said I was one of the greatest speakers that you heard, because I'm laughing. Like, if you asked me right now, if you said, Raul, I'm going to give you $100,000 if you could remember what you said that day and tell me word by word, I'm like, fuck, man, I don't even know what I said. It's like I get in a flow state, and then whatever flows through me is
your vessel.
What happens. And out of us, we're in our heads so much. And if you listen to this right now, understand that the conversation is shifted from just the mindset to a high level of consciousness. And I believe that's my work. When I talk to my clients, I said, I'm not here to teach you mindset. I'm not here to teach you how to become more successful, make more money. I'm here to penetrate your soul so you could level up your level of consciousness, so you can realize what God, the universe, could do for you. Because that's when you have into the effortless flow. That's when you tap into the effortless flow, that you really could become the co-creator with God. And that's what I believe. We are here to become a co-creator with God, not a needy child, not somebody that wants to be punished by God, or, if I'm not a good boy, I want to be punished by God. Because I believe that, most of us, we are so concerned of becoming good boys that we forget how to become a good man. And a good man, somebody that's really realizing that it's not what we could do that matter, is what God could do through us. So tell us a little bit about your journey about building conscious leaders, because I believe that's the key that you're working on right now, is how to not just work with people who want to make a bunch of money and want to be influential. Is how do you increase the level of consciousness so they become conscious leaders and create a real impact in the world?
Yeah. Thank you for really just bringing that up, being a co-creator with God, like, actually, because you embody that so much. I heard that come through on that speech, and that's what gave me the chills. It's like, yes, you are a vessel, and that's it. It's like that to me is like what happens when you're a co-creator with God, right? It just, everything flows through you, like the money, the relationships, the love, the abundance, like it's just all flows right through you, because you are a co-creator with God. And at that point, things are not just effortless, but you truly are unfuckwittable. You are unfuckwittable. Like, you can't be fucked, because you know who you are. You know what you stand for. And you know that you are a co-creator with God. And there's 4 stages, right? And I think a lot of everyone, like, that's going through COVID right now, and this is where they get to see what stage they're at mentally. Is COVID happening to you? That's the first stage, right? And that's like being a victim. Is it happening for you, right? That's the manifester. When you start realizing that you're like, is this happening for you? Then all of a sudden you're like, okay, now I can manifest my dreams. This is all happened for me. This is a gift. And then there's the through you. That's what Raul was talking about. You're a vessel. At that point, you're a vessel, right? And it's everything is coming through you. You're a co-creator with God. And then there's the as me. And that's when you realize you are one with everything. There is no below you. There's no above you. You are one. And it's about love. That's what Jesus taught. That's what God is. It's love. It's unconditional love for all things. And that's it. You start to come from that place. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're thinking that way. It's like, no, it doesn't mean you're soft. It means you're Bruce Lee. It means you are a master. You're an alchemist, that in all situations, like a keto, you're able to always move and bend reality and look at things as energy and always come back to what would love do? How can I come from the place of love and the lens of love? Because most times when your wife is coming at you all freaking heated, when your business partner's freaking out, when all these things happening, when you can come back to, really seeing past that and getting to the root, because I think this is conscious leaders. They're so intelligent, intellectually and intuitively, and they become masters of energy and emotion. And you're able to see past the surface level bullshit that people live on, and you're able to get to the root of what's really going on. And when you're able to do that, you are at that point, like, think of it like a level 3 black belt, martial artist, or, you're able to like really understand how to, manipulate these situations and energy and be the co-creator with God, and always come back to love, not allowing external circumstances, external people to be impacting your life. Like, you're the creator. You create your reality. Other things, external things, COVID, business, the ex-business partner, your ex-wife, the people, the stranger that cut you off on the highway, like none of that can necessarily phase you, because that they're going through something. And if you're triggered, because we get through, like, when there's things that do pop up on a day-to-day basis, every day, you're never fully transformed. When you're a conscious leader, you live a lifestyle of transformation. Every day you do more work. That's why every day you got to be committed to the routine. Every day you got to be committed to the rituals. Every day you have to be doing this inner work, going within, tapping into that soul, that, intuition and with the creator every single day, because you're going to be tested. Every day, God's going to test you every single day to see what level are you ready for his responsibility to handle his people. And that is where, like, every day, you're dealing with that emotional mastery. And for me, I used to carry so much anger, bro. Like, I was angry. I carried it from lineage of men in my family that came from lack. They came from having to protect. We're protectors. We're hunters. I am also Native American. I mean, I have family that went to war. My grandfather went to World War II. There's so much in my lineage. So eventually I had to be the one. And what a powerful gift that, if you're listening to this right now, you have the gift and opportunity, not just to become the first multimillionaire in your family or to create wealth and all these things, to break the chain of the lineage in your family that carried the pain, the lack, the scarcity mentality, the wounds that they didn't know any better. They did the best they could, but it maybe runs through you. And for me, I got the privilege and honor to honor my ancestors and to be able to do that work. And for me, it happened literally like the Matrix. I had a speaker at my event come up to me, notice that I was stressed out, overwhelmed, because I'm scaling a multi-million-dollar business. I'm dealing with my nonprofit. I'm doing all the things, personal brand. It's like all the pressure was coming crashing down and weighing on my back. And one of my speakers who had been doing the spiritual work came over to me, God bless him, Daniel DiPiazza, like Morpheus, red pill, blue pill. And he was like, I want to introduce you to my shaman. I'm like, what the hell is a shaman? And he's like, come with me. And at that point, I was like, I don't know, man, I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncertain. And right then and there, I knew from one of my mentors, who was a Navy SEAL, if something's uncomfortable and uncertain, it means you have to do it, because that's where the growth is. So immediately I was like, I got to go. I went, and with that shaman, I started to understand the power of, and this is not for everyone, this is my journey, the power of psychedelics. And I've worked with ayahuasca, and I've also worked with 5-MeO-DMT, as well as psilocybin. And I don't think that it's something that I will have to integrate in my life forever. But at that point in my life, the medicine, the plant came called to me, and I listened. And ayahuasca has an ability, we call it Mother Aya. And it has it's this unbelievable wisdom. Ancient intelligence is what I call it. And it has this deep ancient intelligence. It's been used in Native American culture as well as many other linear cultures of thousands of years. And it took me to the deepest, talk about the tunnel, man. This shit took me to the cave. This thing took me to the depths of my soul to overcome the deepest of my fears and all the judgment and all the things I've done in my life that I'm not proud of, and forgive and heal myself. And I came out of that like LeBron James, like a warrior, like you've never seen, ready to just, play at the highest level. And that was the beginning of my journey of going from to me to for me to through me to as me.
It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. And as I'm listening to this, I remember a couple of clients just this year that they've gone through the ayahuasca trip, and I have my bootcamp experience. And I asked him, because I've never done ayahuasca, I said, how does, what's the different experience? I said, Raul, like in ayahuasca, you're traveling to the universe, you go in through like different lifetimes, right? With your experience, you fucking take us to the depths of fucking hell. You make us see what we could do. And it's like, I in ayahuasca, I can't fucking leave. And here you won't let me leave. And here you fucking hold me to the fucking fire. So I see that if the more committed you are to your growth, you'll do whatever it takes in order for you to break through. And I think the breakthrough process, a lot of men in the past have not been really open to. I know for me, like I look at, 10 years ago when I started this journey, I look at breakthrough as weak. Oh, there's guys who want to do that. Oh, fucking weak guys. They don't have the mindset, or they don't, they're looking for somebody else to coach them. I used to look at coaching as somebody who was weak. I said, fuck, I don't need a coach. I could do this shit on my own. If I need a coach, that means something's wrong with me, right?
Yeah.
But the feminine energy, women are more open to it. That's what you see in the personal development. 80% of personal development comes from the female energy. I think the masculine energy, we've been so closed to actually get help. So close because we've been conditioned to figure shit out on our own. And that's what we need to break. That's what we need to break. That the reality is that if you're your own counsel, you're being counseled by a fool because you don't know everything. You need to have proximity. You need to have other people that actually give you the things that you need in order for you to start seeing really the mirror, because when you're talking about oneness is really the reason that a lot of men, we have so much anger and we lash at people is because we don't love ourselves. Because really we're not happy with ourselves. So we reflect that, or we put that into our kids, our wives, our employees, or even our customers sometimes.
Yeah.
And instead of looking at ourselves, said, fuck, why is it I'm not happy? Why is it that I'm constantly triggered by different things? And now doing the inner work, because we're talking about doing the inner work, takes fucking balls. That's what it really, if you want to fucking, do some ayahuasca shit or do some bootcamp experience or do something like, it takes fucking balls to go through these experiences, because I know like shit, like the game changes the moment that you actually start seeing that the problem is you. The moment you acknowledge that you are the problem, but at the same time, you are the solution. So you're both with the problem, the solution, not your wife, not your kids, not the market, not COVID, not anybody else but you. And if you're going to shift, it has to come from inside, not from the outside.
I love it, bro.
Thank you, bro. No, man, listen, we could be here talking for hours, man. If you get me started, man, we're going to be here talking for hours. So I know you have a lot of things going on. So I want to respect your time. Give the audience three key advices for them to start using these strategies right now in the middle of crisis. It could be about marketing. It could be about storytelling. It could be a business. What are the three things that you could share with the audience that they could actually apply in this moment of crisis to make sure that the end 2020 is strong?
Well, I would say the very first thing is get really clear on what do you actually want to be known for? Like, who are you and what are you leading? Get really clear on that. I think it's caused me to niche down COVID. It's caused me to get more clear, like, who am I here? Because it's one thing, like we all here to contribute to the world and make it a better place. But there is someone that is out there that your particular story that God has only given to you, your personality, your signature that is unique to you, is meant for someone in the world that is going to relate to you and is looking for you right now to lead them. So figure out who that person is and go all in at helping that target demographic. And the more polarizing you are, the more that you will actually grow in business and in influence. And I had to learn that. So I would say that's one. Two,
Well, let me piggyback on that because I think that's fucking key, Gerard. I think a lot of businessmen, business people, they miss the mark because they want to talk to everyone. They end up talking to no one. And in real estate, I found when I started niching down on real estate, I made millions of dollars because I was niche on real estate. So when I became a coach and I started doing events, I started talking to everyone. My first year in coach, like if whoever you were, I will coach you. I just, I didn't have a niche market. But then realized that I'm not here to coach everyone. I can't resonate with everyone. I can't resonate with certain people. So the moment that I started niching to the old version of Raul, the Raul who was in the tunnel, the Raul that was in the darkness, the game changed. And I went from losing $500,000 a year in my business to making millions of dollars in coaching because I was niche. So what Gerard's talking about is, man, like find your message and talk to that demographic clearly. Get clear about who is your audience, who is your client, who's going to listen to your message, and don't give a fuck about talking to everyone because at the end of the day, no, you're not going to be able to please everyone.
Yep, absolutely. I would say the second thing that has been an absolute game changer for me, especially more now than ever before, but definitely the last 5 years, and it's created the most consistent form of income and impact in my life, has been building a personal brand. And I cannot tell you that by putting out what I call the leader's story consistently and treating Gerard Adams as an asset, like real estate, that the more that I invest into Gerard Adams and put out my work to the world through social media as a tool, not as a consumer, but as an investor and as looking at it as a tool for business and impact, it is completely it's made me unfuckable. It's made me recession proof. It's made me to be able to travel and do anything I want, wherever I want, and still be able to make money while I sleep and make impact while I sleep and leave a legacy. So I would tell you to build your brand, figure out your leader's story. I have a framework for that. Maybe that's a whole nother show, and really look at the 4 P's in creating your content. So the first is, what is your pillar content? For Raul, it's probably the edge. It's this podcast. That's his pillar content. It's consistent. People know they can rely on it. It's consistent. Figure out what that is. For me, it's leaders create leaders. The next is promotion. Like, what are you promoting? What is your product? Come up with your promoting content. The next is personal. So like, share yourself. For Raul, maybe it's family. He shares this side of him to make him relatable. And it's the side of him that is personal to him. So start sharing that. Vulnerability is what creates connection. So show the personal side of you and use storytelling through that. And the last is persuasion. You got to use persuasion through the art of storytelling. That's going to build trust, get people to like you, and to be able to get people to want to buy from you, your programs, your products, your service, or technology. So I would say the personal brand, I don't know if you want to come on that side, but it's the second thing that I would say right now more than ever before. Virtual is the wave. You got to have a brand nowadays. That's your digital footprint.
Listen, I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, people look at the stuff that we create and the 1 P that I will urge you to avoid is the P for perfection. So many people fuck this up because I have to have the perfect brand. I have to have the perfect life. Have to have the perfect message. Fuck perfection. Like if you look at my videos from 7 years ago, shit, I had a selfie video. I'll stutter. I have the intros all fucked up. Like, I didn't have my team. I didn't have the studio. I didn't have what I have now. But I started with something. A lot of people are afraid because I don't have a perfect message. Fuck perfection. Focus on progress. The moment that you start focusing on progress, because who you are right now, 5 years from now, is gonna be evolved. Like shit. I look at my old videos. I'm like, fuck. Like, man, like I've come a long way, but then at the same time, I'm excited for 5 years from now, like who that version of me is going to be. So avoid perfection and put yourself out there. Like whatever your brand is, just put yourself out there. People are looking for authenticity, realness. They're not looking for perfection.
Yeah, I love it, bro. Thank you for saying that. It's so true. That's what holds everyone back from taking action. It's the overanalysis paralysis. So thank you for sharing that. So that's key. I'm going to use that. I would say number 3, this has been a game changer for me throughout my life, building businesses, scaling them and selling them, especially more now than ever, systems. You have to learn how to build systems. And that's the way I've been able to scale everything in my life is you got to have systems. So you got to look at your life right now and say, where are the systems? Where can I automate? Where can I delegate? And where can I eliminate? Where can you automate? Where can you delegate? And where can you eliminate? I would not be the entrepreneur I am today, building my third 8-figure company by 35, if I did not have systems and I didn't have the right people around me. So you got to get clear on the right people. You got to get clear on the right processes. You got to get clear on the right priorities in your life. So systemize your life. That's like your self-mastery. That's your business. That's, you got to figure out what is your highest and best use of your time and do those things. For me, it's 3 things. I got to coach, I got to create, and I got to connect. Every day I'm connecting with people like Raul. I'm creating content and I'm creating coursework and I'm creating things that's going to benefit my customers, my clients, my audience. And then I'm coaching. I'm showing up and I'm coaching my clients.
I love it, man. I have something to add on that is build people and create systems. A lot of entrepreneurs, what we do is we actually think that we have to build a system and then create people. The people coming first. Once you have the people, once you're building your people, then you scale on systems. And I love that because a lot of people just rely on, once I have the perfect system or system, then I'm going to build my people. Then I'm going to invest on my people. Then I'm going to find this. No, you got to find the people, the guys who are going to roll with you and then create systems that support their work. So I love it, man. Systems. Without systems, you can't scale. I'm in the process right now where we have an app that we're scaling. We have the systems in place because of what I've done in the last 5 years, put the foundation. That's what I talk about. Build the foundation, build your people, build yourself. Systems will complement who you are and what you do. No system, no click funnel is going to give you $1 million. No system there's no such thing as a system that you could just plug in and gives you money. You have to build it and the system will complement what you built.
Hell yeah.
No, awesome, brother. Great, man. Thank you for being here, man. I appreciate you. So give them a website or where can they find you to know more about your programs and the conscious leaders.
Thank you, bro. So my number one platform right now is Instagram. So feel free to just shoot me a DM at Gerard Adams. My name, GerardAdams. You can also go to leaderscreateleaders.com. You'll find that's where I have my latest program. It's called the Conscious Leader Mastermind. It's built for specifically high performers and change makers around the 7 and 8 figure mark. And yeah, bro, Raul, I want to do more with you. I want to co-create with you. So call me into your tribe and let's figure out ways. We talked about it and let's get towards that execution. I feel like we can do a lot of work together. And I love what you said, man. Latinos on the rise.
Awesome, brother. Thank you, brother. Stay tuned till the next one. Learn it, live it, experience it. Love life. If you like this podcast, send me a text from a community platform at 203-405-9199 for exclusive content and direct access to me so I can take your life to the next level. That's 203-405-9199. Send me a text now.